What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Lex Alexas. As football will be returning within this week, I thought it'd be a good idea to now reflect on my official championship table predictions for this season, and I'll talk over a couple of things I will tweak and address in terms of my updated championship table predictions. So in the first part of the video, I'm going to show you my official predictions and talk through my thoughts on each placing. Then right at the end of the video, I will change the table and show you what my current updated predictions are. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help. Please do hit that subscribe button if you have not done so. It does really help the channel. Let's try and push to 800 subscribers if we can. And please share this video and this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps and is appreciative. But without any further ado, let's start reviewing my thoughts on my championship predictions so far. So right to the left hand side of me is my official championship table predictions I released about 2 months ago now. So it has felt quite a while since I've released these predictions, and as you notice, there's a couple that I don't seem too bad, but there are a couple that are rather questionable. So I'm also making sure I'm looking at the current table right now just so I can compare to where each team is positioned at the moment. One team that is positioned where I predicted them is Derby. Now, they have appealed their 12-point deduction today. I will be very surprised, however, if it gets overturned. Administration and 12 points deduction seems to be a foregone conclusion for me. If Wigan have had it, then I think Derby are going to have the same punishment also. The fact they're on 2 points, so on positive points, is encouraging. It actually would mean that they are currently on 14 points if they didn't have the points deduction, which would actually see them bang slap in the middle of the table in 12th place. But with a potential 9 further points deduction looming, they're going to have to play that promotion form to survive. So I think predicting Derby in the bottom 3 is going to be a prediction I might keep. Same with Hull and Peterborough actually. So I got Hull in 23rd and Peterborough in 22nd. I won't lie, I think they will be in or around that table. Maybe not both of them will go down, because both have impressed me at certain stages of the season. I've been a bit concerned with Hull's lack of goal scoring, but their brilliant weekend over Middlesbrough last weekend before the international break, maybe we could see that as a turning point potentially. With Peterborough, I've been quite impressed with their goal scoring form, but it has been their defence. So potentially I might even move Peterborough a little bit further down based on how poor they are at the back. You know, they are 23rd place at the moment, so only Derby are doing worse in terms of points, and of course they've been given a 12-point deduction. So without that deduction, Peterborough would be rock bottom of the championship. Then to one which I think is a little bit controversial. So I had Huddersfield in 21st place in the table. Obviously, they're one place outside of the top 6 right now in 7th place, and I've had a pretty good start to the season. Now, it hasn't been full sailing for Huddersfield. There have been a couple of questionable performances in some certain games. For instance, the one against Nottingham Forest where they didn't have a shot on goal, and this was against the Nottingham Forest side that were previously rock bottom of the championship in that game. But there have been other times where they've impressed me also. I was very impressed with their grit when they got their win against Preston, the way they smashed Reading by 4-0. I think Huddersfield's asset this season is going to be their home form. And surely 21st is way too harsh. I mean, I won't lie, some people predicted Huddersfield to go down, so I'll take a slight pat on the back, but I did back Huddersfield to survive in this season. 20th place, I've gone for Preston. Now, Preston find themselves currently in 18th place in the table, so that is not a terrible prediction by my part. It's not quite spot on, and I won't lie, based on how well Reece Jacobson is doing with goals, I think Preston might do okay actually. I mean, at the start of the season, I thought Preston were actually going to get relegated, but I actually predicted Preston to finish too high. But then it got a bit of consistency down. They've gone on an unbeaten run now, which has stretched, I believe, to 5 games now. So as long as Preston can keep that unbeaten run going, I think they will survive. They just need to stop drawing games and start winning a couple more. Blackburn, I had them to finish down in 19th place. So obviously that's a bit of a bad prediction. They're down in 8th place at the moment, occupying the heights of Huddersfield Town. Now, I do predict that Blackburn may have a drop-off of sorts, but there's one player who I think could really defy the odds of that, and that is Ben Brereton Diaz. His goal-scoring form, for me, has really taken Blackburn into new heights and has really elevated their start so far. But if I'm thinking long-term and history repeating itself, Blackburn start well, and around November time they start dropping their form. If they can continue their form and Brereton Diaz can still continue to score the amount of goals he has been scoring, then maybe Blackburn can finish a lot higher than 19th for what I originally predicted, and maybe have a top half finish, which would be a good season for Blackburn for me. I predicted Blackpool to finish in 18th, they're currently 12th place. So 6 places off doesn't sound too great, but when you think about it, they're not that many points away from 18th place. In fact, they're only 4 points off 18th place. So it's very, very close, the table at the moment. And definitely with Blackpool, I think the longer the season goes on, the more teams will start to figure out how to break them down. I think Blackpool just carry that new, fresh feel to the Championship that a lot of people are going to have to figure out, you know, Neil Critchley's unique tactics with using Shane Lavery as his goal scorer at the moment, and he has been an incredible form and has really been a player who I think has really elevated Blackpool's season so far. They have been a breath of fresh air. I do think they do have the potential to finish in and around that position, but it's just going to be tricky for me if they are going to have a long-term success, because so far, whilst they have gone on a bit of an unbeaten run recently, they have shown to me that they can struggle to score goals in certain games. Next I have Coventry. Now, that's probably one of my worst predictions so far. Coventry are really defying the odds. 14 places off in my prediction. Currently in 3rd place, joint on points with 2nd place West Brom. So they are really defying the odds, Coventry, right now. And a lot of that is down to their 100% home form. Their away form, however, puts them down in 20th place. They need to improve their away record. We've seen it with Reading when they had a really, really good start to the season, and then we creep in a bit of inconsistency, some players getting injured, and then slowly but surely Coventry trickled down the table. And Reading, of course, found themselves one place off the top 6 last year, and that is where I'm thinking Coventry could finish if they do not improve their away form. Also, with the lack of depth and the lack of experience of those players being up there in the Championship as well, I think could cost them, and of course the manager. But, I mean, Coventry, you know, you should continue to ride the hype train when it lasts, because they're doing really, really well right now, and I really, really have a huge amount of respect for them defying the odds. Sitting place, I predicted Bristol City. Now, that is not too bad, although Bristol City do find themselves in 9th place. A big factor for that is the fact they are keeping an unbeaten record so far. Since they lost their 2nd game against Swansea, they've actually not lost a game since then. And their away record, I think, is one of the best in the Championship. I believe it's actually probably the best away record in the Championship. What needs to improve for them, very anti-Coventry, is their home form. They've not won a single home game so far. It's stretched to 15 games not being able to win at home, which I can only feel sorry for their home fans for. But they've actually only lost 1 home game this season. You know, the rest of the results have been a draw. Bristol City, sooner rather than later, need to start getting a win at home. I think if they can fix their home form, Bristol City can be another team that might surprise people. And definitely I'll be predicting them to have a higher finish for what I've predicted at the moment. 15th place, I predicted Reading. Now, this was before that they could get their 9-point deduction. It's not been officially dropped by EFL yet, but I put them there based on the fact that I think Panavic is going to have a difficult year. He had a lot of players injured, and we knew that was going to be a problem. But fair play to Reading. You know, with those injuries, they've really coped well and actually find themselves in the top 10, which is amazing. But with their points deduction, it would see them in the bottom 3 or thereabouts. So Reading need to continue to try and squeeze as many wins as they can, because I think this year the bottom 3 is going to be very, very competitive. Derby are going to be in a dogfight. Peterborough are definitely going to have their strength scoring goals. Hull definitely defensively have improved. And you'll see other teams down there as well, scrapping and really fighting for their lives. So I think it's going to be really tough this year. and potentially I might boost Reading down a bit based on the fact they will get their deduction. Next on the table is Birmingham. Now, I predicted them to finish in 14th place in the table. At the moment, they're in 16th place, and honestly, they are actually joint on points with 14th place Sheffield United at the moment. But I just have this feeling that Birmingham are not looking like a team that can bounce back. They had a brilliant start, don't get me wrong. 3 goals conceded in 7 games. Unbelievable defensive record. But as soon as they lost 4-1 to Fulham, their confidence has just been rock bottom. And I do concern with Birmingham for the fact they have conceded a lot more goals. Scoring goals has been more of a problem as well. And I know Birmingham are not going to be a free scoring team. You know, we don't associate them with that. But at least what they should do is try and keep a defensive performance. And they've not done that at the moment. So for me, I can only see it worse before it gets better. I do think Birmingham will survive. But we have seen teams in this position at this stage of the season do get relegated if they don't improve their form. You only got to look at Charlton from 2 seasons ago for how well they started and for how low they dropped. Also managed under Lee Bowyer. So Lee Bowyer's got to try and overcome this, and I do think he's got the ability. It's just going to be intriguing to see how Birmingham respond in the next couple of games or so. 13th place, and just the other team below the bottom half of the table is Swansea. They are another team I'm really struggling to put my finger on at the moment. So Swansea are 19th place. Definitely not good enough in terms of their expectation. Now, Russell Martin's football has seen Swansea do well with their passing and well with their possession, but scoring goals, one of the lowest goal scorers in the Championship, and that is a big problem. I just think it's because of how quickly they build up their play. I think it's too slow and too predictable. I think Russell Martin does need to shake it up a little bit. If anything, try and rotate the squad, change formations, do something that's going to shock a team. And, you know, they picked up some good wins along the way. I really liked their win against Huddersfield a couple of weeks ago. That was a really, really good win on their part, and actually a really good performance too. But I just don't see Swansea improving too much. I think they'll improve on their 19th place finish at the moment, but when they'll finish after 46 games, it's difficult to say, to be honest. Now, 12th place, I had Barnsley. Now, I am a bit concerned about Barnsley, I'm not going to lie. They find themselves in the bottom 3 of the season. They've only picked up 1 win so far this season, which is not encouraging. And they were fortunate to keep that win as well. They've had to thank Brad Collins for saving a last-minute penalty against Coventry for them to keep their one only win of the season. And right now, Barnsley just look like a team that are just kind of scrapping a little bit. They just don't look like the free, fluid team that they were under Valerian Ismail. They look a lot more disjointed. There's only been a couple of really eye-gazing performances from them. That win against Coventry being one of them, capitalising on a mistake and defending well. But also, when they went 2-0 up against QPR. But the way they threw their lead away, they should have had the game wrapped by that time. I think if they'd have won that game, I think Barnsley could have had a really different season. But right now, there's just not too much confidence going on with the manager, with the players as well. I think they are struggling to try and get this new playmaker into the squad with Alex Moore leaving. I think Callum Styles has got a lot more responsibility in his hand, and he's a young player. You can't expect him to do everything. So Barnsley, for me, I think I'm definitely going to predict them to have a lower finish. Where I'm going to put them down, God knows, really. Even if Marcus Schopp gets sacked, who do they bring in, and would he naturally improve the squad? I don't know, I'm a bit concerned at the moment with Barnsley. Now, 11th place, I put down Nottingham Forest. Now, that actually does not look like an awful prediction now. They are in 17th place at the moment, but they're only 4 points off 11th. Now, part of that was me thinking, I think Chris Hughton's going to find it a little bit tricky, but I think Forest will have promising form, but then fall away. Now, they've already had their fall away, but now they're having their promising form. It's just going to be down if Steve Cooper can really delve deep enough to push Forest into that top 6 place. We've seen teams overturn a season, you know, similarly to Nottingham Forest and have their season finishing in the top 6. So it is not impossible for Nottingham Forest to finish right up there in the Championship. I just query with their squad, the lack of goals at the moment. If they can keep their defence as tight as they have done, then I do think Forest will improve. And they might be a team I might not change my original prediction for. 10th place, I had Stoke. Now, I think I am going to predict Stoke to finish quite a fair bit higher than 10th. I think they have really earned their 4th place position so far in the Championship. I've really been impressed with their signings. I've liked Sam Surridge, but most importantly, I think Mario Vrancic would be up there for one of the signings of the window so far. With the amount of goal contributions he's given to that Stoke City side, for how he keeps this side ticking as well, you've got to give a huge amount of credit for Vrancic. The fact that Stoke have already had really good results, you know, their 1-0 win against West Brom, for instance, where they were comprehensively better than them in my opinion, then I think the future is very, very bright for Stoke. Definitely are going to predict them to finish higher than 10th place. 9th place, I predicted Luton. I did predict Luton to be the one team that I am predicting to be with my wildcard, but I just have this feeling for how good they are going forward. I think Luton can turn it around, you know. I really do think they can turn it around. You know, I think they have been unlucky from where they currently are on the table. I mean, they're 13th place, to be fair. And that is not an awful position for them to be. They're only 2 points, of course, off 9th place. So one win could see them back in my originally predicted position for Luton Town. So for me, I can see Luton Town steadily doing quite well in the season. So if anything, I actually might predict them there or thereabouts again in my updated predictions. 8th place, I got Millwall. Probably too high. Won't lie, it's a bit too high. Reason being, you know, they're a really difficult team to beat, but they just cannot win enough games. They draw way too many games, and they have done that already this season. You know, they find themselves in the moment at 11th place actually, which is actually not too bad with my prediction, but in my honest opinion, I think they will fall short just a bit. I think, but the fact that they've not won too many games at the moment, I do think it will cost them. 7th place, I got Middlesbrough. Yeah, not great, isn't it? You know, I've had some terrible predictions in the bottom end of the table, but also that accounts to the top end of the table too. Middlesbrough have just not really clicked, really, and I've been quite disappointed. And one thing I have been disappointed with Warnock a little bit is I want to see more of Martin Paella. I want to see more of the real high-profile players being played. But it's almost like he's making up excuses not to play them. And Middlesbrough at the moment are a team that just seem a bit frustrated, a bit annoyed, you know, with the whole situation they find themselves. They're in 15th place of the table. I mean, it's not the most awful position that they find themselves in, but they're 6 points off the top 6. And for me, that is an area of the table where they really need to strive for. I think they are a team that definitely going to have to rely maybe on the January transfer window, but a team that's got to be very, very careful of FFP. We have seen teams affected with FFP, especially non-parachute payment teams. Middlesbrough have got to be very, very careful with that if they are tempted to try and improve their squad even more. So now to the teams I predicted in the top 6. So 6th place, I predicted Cardiff. Yeah, not great, isn't it? I mean, what could I say except that I'm a little bit wrong. I'm a little bit wrong with Cardiff. So they started well. They really have started well to the season, but then they went from a losing streak, haven't they? You know, they find themselves 20th place at the moment. They've got a recognised striker in Kiefer Moore in the squad, but they are just not finding the back of the net, and they're conceding way too many goals. They just need to try and find the form they had at the start of the season. Then I have no doubt that Cardiff can be up there in the table. Would a change of manager improve it? I don't know. They're still sticking with McCarthy, which I think is an interesting approach from Vincent Tan. 5th place, QPR. That is pretty much spot on. They're 6th place at the moment, QPR. And I do think I will be predicting them to finish in or around that position of the table as well. They have been good in some games. They have been a little bit short in some other games as well. But they always carry a fight, which I think is a fantastic mentality with this QPR squad. 4th place, I go for Bournemouth. Maybe that's quite harsh on my part. Now, Bournemouth, at the start of the season, they've got their youth squad, you know, being their biggest asset in this squad, also with an experienced manager like Scott Parker, obviously the revenge of trying to get back into the Premier League as well. But I couldn't have imagined how well it would actually go for this Bournemouth side. They currently sit 1st place in the Championship on 25 points. But I have learnt this. In the past 3, 4, 5 seasons, the team currently 1st place in this position in the Championship does not finish 1st. So, Bournemouth have now got to really use their strong mentality and actually keep this sort of form forward. I do think they have got a load of options. I love the transfers they've made. I just think there may be a really tricky patch in the season, and I think depth might be the area that might let them down. But I could be wrong on this. I really can. And I definitely think I'll be predicting Bournemouth to finish higher than 4th in my updated predictions. 3rd place, West Brom. Really not too far off, to be honest. They're currently 2nd place in the table as it stands. I think I will be predicting them to finish in and around that position again. Second place, though, is when it gets a bit embarrassing. I predicted Sheffield United. So Sheffield United at the one point of the season looked okay, but then the beginning and then the end part of this 11-game period, they have not really looked that great, to be honest. But I have seen enough promise that I think Sheffield United can be up there. I think a bit similar with Cardiff. I think we'll see an upwards trajectory with this team. It's just really down to the consistency, to be honest. So they're going to be the toughest team to predict out of the 46 games. I'm going to tell you this. I do think they'll finish higher than a current 14th place finish. But where in the table, it could be top half, it could be top 6, it could even be promotion. I really have no clue. But I don't think they are going to necessarily wrap up promotion as easy as I made it sound in my predictions video. And first place, I predicted Fulham. That might look as a bit of a bad prediction following the fact they have lost 4-1 to Coventry recently. But you've got to understand the squad. The squad depth is insane, and that is why I backed Fulham. And they have shown in games how ruthless they are to score 4 against Millwall, to score 4 against Birmingham. Not one team is able to do that often, and Fulham have just done that within their opening 11 games. When they get it right, and especially when they score an early goal, they are ruthless, Fulham. So I think Fulham still will be around that position despite being in 5th place at the moment, which will be a bit of a disappointment. I just think if anything might let them down, it will be their defence. So, that's me talking through my updated predictions. Let me know if your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, to end the video, on the left-hand side of the screen now is my updated predictions. Now, don't scream at me for some of these calls. I'm going to quickly explain them. So, Derby, Peterborough and Hull is my bottom 3. Pretty unchanged. I've only swapped Hull and Peterborough around. I've just got a little bit more confidence in Hull at the moment. Barnsley, 21st. Honestly, just with the squad so far, I think they will survive, but I just think by not that much, to be honest. Birmingham, I think, will drop down. I think they will finish in around 20th place so far. Blackpool 19th might be a bit of a surprise. You know, I predicted them to finish 1 place higher in my original predictions, but I just think consistency is going to be an issue with this Blackpool side. Reading 18th, that's really down to my points deduction. 17th Preston, I think they will have enough consistency to finish in around that position. I think Rhys Jacobson will push him over the line for that. Swansea 16th, I wish I predicted Swansea a bit higher, but I just don't have enough confidence that they'll score enough goals. 15th Millwall, honestly, really could be 15th, could be 10th place. It's just really down to the lack of wins. Middlesbrough 14th, I think they will steadily improve, but I think at the same time, I just don't see them having that momentum like for what I think Sheffield United and Cardiff could have with their improvements. Huddersfield 13th, that's a bit of a drop considering they're in 7th place right now, but I think based on the squad, the depth, and I also think with some poor performances with that as well, I think naturally teams will start catching up to them. But I think 13th place will not be a too bad finish for Huddersfield. Bristol City 12th really could be up there. They could even fall lower than 12th, but I do think based on the fact I think they have a good away form but a poor home form, I think it naturally matches that they'll be in around mid-table. Nottingham Forest 11th, one unchanged side for me. I think they will be around mid-table based on what Steve Cooper can do. Blackburn 10th, I actually think with Ben Brereton and Diaz's goals, I think he can get Blackburn up there. Cardiff 9th, I think maybe the most gambled one I've done. I think if Mick McCarthy goes and they get someone good in, I think Cardiff will steadily improve. You know, a bit similar we saw to last season when Neil Harris got sacked and Mick McCarthy went in, of course. But I think they will fall short again. Luton 8th, another team that might be a bit of a gamble, but I do think with their goals, I think they'll be up there. Coventry 7th, so Coventry fans, please don't hate me. Matt SB, don't kill me, but I just think we're going to see a very similar thing with Reading. They'll start well, you know, they'll have a tricky period with the injuries, and naturally teams will start catching up to them and they'll fall just short, but that's my opinion. They can definitely surprise me. QPR 6th, it's where they are right now. I think they'll stay around that. Stoke 5th, I actually think they'll stay up there. I think Stoke have proven to be a really good, consistent team this season. Sheffield United 4th, might be a bit of a gamble, but I do think Jokanovic with his experience in this level, I think he will project them up there. West Brom 3rd, I think Ishmael may fall short a bit. I have not been too impressed with West Brom in the past couple of games or so. Then Bournemouth 2nd. So I am predicting Bournemouth to fall off a bit because I'm predicting Fulham to win. Now, you've got to remember, by this time, 2 years ago, Leeds were around in that position 11 games in and they got first. You know, we saw the same with Norwich. They weren't first place in this time, but they still managed to get first in the end. Naturally, it's whoever gets the best consistency in around this stage of the season. And I think Fulham, for me, with their squad depth, I think they'll do that. So I'm still backing Fulham to win the championship, but I could be completely wrong. So these are my updated predictions and my thoughts on the current Championship 21-22 season. Let me know of your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please do hit that subscribe button. It does really help the channel. And please share this video to as many people as you can. All of that really helps. But now wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.